Hey man, how you doing, man? What's going on? Psh, you know, man, I'm out here killing it with my music, man. I'm about to blow up. Yep, I'm about to sign a deal. You feel me? Oh, word, that's so dope, man. So like, what kind of deal you gonna sign? Psh, you know, man, one with a big label. A big one, you know, cause look, listen, I'm a producer, a songwriter, I'm the artist, boy. I'm a triple threat. Yeah, man, that's dope, bro. But like, what kind of deal are you gonna sign though? I mean, look, what you mean, man? Cause I don't think I understand what you're asking me. Oh man, it's all good, man. It's just that there's different types of deals you can get involved in. Look, tell you what, I'll break it down for you, okay? Okay. All right, bet. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Sikwitit. We've previously discussed topics concerning music publishing, such as the two types of music copyrights and how song splits work, and royalties and how they're paid out. If you haven't seen those videos, please check them out to get a more thorough understanding. That being said, we also feel it's important we cover some of the most common publishing deals out there available for those whose careers are elevating and garnering opportunities to eventually sign one of those deals. So let's jump into it. Now, before we explain the different types of publishing deals and how they work, there are a few prerequisites that we need to cover. It's information we need to know prior to diving into those deals. So let's get started. Let's start by explaining what music publishing deals are. Pub deals involve transferring a part of your copyright to a publisher, which allows them to license the use of the composition, and in exchange, you will get a share of the royalties collected by said publisher. Now, in order to further understand how publishing deals work, we must first understand that there is a difference between a publishing deal and a record deal, and should be thought of as separate. A lot of times, creatives blur the lines and lump the two together as one deal, but they are distinctive and both play a specific role. If you're a creative looking to sign a deal, it would be advantageous to sign both a pub deal and a record deal because they actually work in tandem with one another. To simply put it, record deals represent and collect on the master recording itself, and publishing deals represent and collect on the music composition. That's pretty simple. Publishing deals typically cover the following. If you're in a publishing deal, the publisher owns rights to the publisher's share of a song, and I'll get into that in just a minute. They also exploit the copyright in the songs themselves, which are the melodies, the lyrics, and pays out performance royalties, sync royalties, and sheet music royalties. They also handle the administration of the musical composition, such as registering copyrights for each song, negotiating licensing, collecting your money, and handling licensing fees. They also seek out sync deals for TV and film. They pay out advances so the creative can focus on music full time. And there's different types of publishing deals that include administration-only deals, co-publishing deals, and traditional full publishing deals, which we will break down later on. Now let's get into record deals. Record deals typically cover the following. The record deal will own the rights to the master of your song. They will also handle the release of your master recordings to retailers, streaming services, radio, etc. They'll also handle promotions, marketing your music, landing sync placements, and more. They often pay out advances to cover the recording costs for the album or a single. Now, this is a little dated, but they also pay to produce physical releases like CDs or LPs. This isn't in most cases, but in certain circumstances, this is still available. When in this deal, you'll also get paid out mechanical royalties for physical sales, digital download sales, and the mechanical royalties in streaming. Now, depending on the deal, they may also include taking some of your publishing. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the different royalty shares that are involved in a song and how they work. There are 2 equal shares of royalties attached to the composition portion of a song. These shares are known as the writer's share, which consists of performance royalties and streaming mechanical royalties, and then the publisher's share, which consists of mechanical royalties. The writer's share is 50%, and the publisher's share is the other 50%. Now, this should not be confused with how music copyrights are split between its creators, as discussed in a previous video. In fact, these shares should be applied to each creator after the song has been properly split. It's also important to note that you can act as your own publisher if you don't have one. Be sure to register your own publishing company because if you don't, you will only receive royalties for the writer's share. Remember, as discussed in our previous video, performance royalties are paid out via performance rights organizations directly to the writer. On the other hand, mechanical royalties are paid out to the mechanical rights organization solely to the publisher, who in turn pays you. Now, if you're not set up as your own publisher, nor do you have a publisher, the revenue paid to the publisher's share will then fall into what is known as a black box, which is a pool of revenue at collection societies of unclaimed royalties. If these royalties are not claimed by a publisher within a certain amount of time, they will be distributed to other local publishers based on market share. And get this, your royalties will be lost forever because they've been distributed to someone else. Okay, now, the writers and publisher share play an important role when considering publishing deals because publishing companies will take a percentage of control from your publisher's share. Knowing this information prior to signing a pub deal can be crucial when making decisions about the future of your career. Hey, quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get updated on cool new content like what you're watching right now. Also, join us on Discord. It's the perfect place for questions and conversation, not only with the Airbit team, but our entire community. All right, let's get back to it. All right, now that we got that necessary information out of the way, let's break down the different types of deals. First, let's tackle an administrative deal. In an admin deal, the publishing administrator is responsible for registering your songs and collecting on your behalf. In this type of deal, the creator retains 100% ownership of the copyright, and the publisher takes what's known as an administrative fee, which is around 10 to 25% of the overall royalties collected that comes out of your publisher's share. They also process the paperwork for any sync licenses you acquire for a percentage of the sync royalty. Okay, here are some other things that are covered in an admin deal. First, you keep 100% ownership of the copyright. The publisher never touches that. Instead, they only require a small percentage fee of the royalties collected. Not only that, you get professional representation. Your publisher also handles royalty collections in the US and multiple territories overseas. And finally, this type of deal is typically a 1 to 3 year agreement. This type of deal is great for independent creatives who are releasing or placing music but still want to retain ownership of their music. Now, keep in mind that because the publisher does not own any publishing rights, they have no incentive to proactively promote your song catalog. Okay, now let's move on and talk about co-publishing deals. A co-pub deal is a common deal for modern day creatives. In a co-publishing deal, the creator splits ownership with the publishing company, giving them the right to exploit and promote their music composition on a larger scale. The most common split is 50-50 of the publisher's share, whereas you keep 100% of the writer's share, which means you relinquish a total of about 25% ownership while you maintain 75%. These percentages can always be negotiated but must make sense for both parties. Now, here are some things that are covered in a pub deal. First is the monetary advance. Now, this is not free money and must be recouped. Do not forget that. Also, remember, you do not start receiving royalties on the song until the advance has been fully recouped, which means they collect all your royalties until then. Now, when signed to one of these types of deals, your publisher will handle administrative duties such as registering the copyrights of your songs, negotiating licenses, and they will collect on the mechanical royalties, performance royalties, and license fees. Your publisher also has vested interest to pitch your songs to music supervisors, labels, popular artists, and seek out sync deals for TV and film. Now, when signed to one of these deals and having a team behind you, the possibilities for exposure on other platforms highly increases. Now, when you sign to one of these deals, the agreement is usually 1 to 3 years with certain obligations. These obligations usually include writing a minimum number of commercial songs and recording and releasing music on a legitimate label. So, for example, let's say your obligation requires you to turn in 4 songs. That is the equivalent to 400% of publishing, which is broken down to 100% per song. Now, let's be real. In most cases, you don't even create 100% of a song because it's usually shared with other producers, songwriters, and artists. Let's say you complete one song, but there are 4 contributors on it. Now, to make things easy, let's just say everything is split evenly, which means you only complete 25% of the total 400 that is required. If you continue on the path of having multiple collaborators, your 4-song requirement can easily turn into an upward of 16 plus songs. Now, if you do sign this type of a deal, here are some things to consider. Try to minimize the amount of collaborators on a song. Going this route, at best, if it's 1 producer and 1 artist, your 4 songs turn into 8 songs. Another option is create your own music and produce it yourself. Going this route, at best, you are both the producer and the artist, which means 4 songs is actually 4 songs, but this is the best case scenario and not typical. Now, keep in mind, we actually live in a day where collaboration is everything, and you'll find multiple collaborators on any given song. Just in the world of production, you're finding that 4, 5, 6 producers can end up on one song. The only way this really works for you is if your output is at a high level. Let's say you're turning out 20 to 30 songs and placing that many songs regularly per year. Then this type of deal actually works well for you. This type of deal is good for creatives who aren't necessarily interested in the independent route, but are looking for a monetary advance in exchange for help from a bigger machine to get their music out on a grander scale. Oh yeah, one more very important thing. I need you to keep in mind that in many cases, you still have to seek out your own placement opportunities with little help from the publisher, depending on who you sign with. Every publisher is different, and their involvement depends on a number of variables, such as the size of the publishing company. Smaller publishing companies tend to have fewer clients and can often pay them more attention, but on the flip side, if they are flooded with clients, they may not have the sufficient bandwidth to adequately accommodate each artist. On the other hand, larger publishing companies tend to have tons of clients, and you can often get lost in the sauce, especially if you are a low-performing creative that generates a small amount of revenue. At this point, you become low priority. Now, if you find yourself having tons of success generating high amounts of revenue, you will find yourself being reprioritized to the top of the list, and at that point with bigger pub companies, the resources and opportunities can be endless. These are just a few things to consider when looking for a good publishing company to sign with. Alright, let's move on and discuss the traditional full publishing deal. This type of deal is not as common these days, but is still an active option. In a full publishing deal, the creative signs over 100% of their publishing share to a publishing company, which means the publisher now owns the music. This deal shares a lot of the same benefits as a co-pub deal, but with enhanced incentives. For instance, the advance may be larger. The publishing company will have greater vested interest to pitch your music. You increase the possibility of exposure on more platforms. And remember, the publisher does not require permission to exploit the music. And when it comes to making money, publishers recoup on the advance before paying out any revenue to the creative. Creatives only receive 50% revenue after the advance has been fully recouped. And that's pretty much it for this deal. It's pretty basic. Again, not very common these days, but still does exist, and it's good to know the information behind it. Alright, let's move on and discuss the 360 deal. Now, we've all heard of the 360 deal, but let's dive a little deeper. First off, a 360 deal is actually considered a record deal, but has publishing wrapped up in the agreement. It's also important to note that some of the bigger record labels such as Warner Music Group and Universal Music Group have a publishing arm and often act as your label and publisher all in one. Now, we won't get into all the specifics of what a 360 deal is, but we will focus on how it can act as a pub deal and how it affects your publishing. 360 deals are exclusive recording artist contracts that grant a record label a percentage of the earnings from a creative's entire output, rather than just record sales. These revenues could include live concert revenue, merchandise sales, endorsement deals, book and movie deals, ringtones, and more, including publishing royalties, which means you relinquish some of your publishing rights and lots of potential to earn more money. And that's basically it with this type of deal when it comes to dealing with your publishing. Let's move on. Now let's discuss our work for hire deal. A work for hire agreement is pretty straightforward. This type of deal is when a songwriter, producer, composer, etc. is paid a flat fee by companies or individuals to create unique compositions for their projects. In most cases, you sign away all of your master and publishing rights, including your writer's share, which means you aren't entitled to any royalties of the music you create for them. Now, this gives them the right to use your work for whatever they like without your consent. That being said, you may also not be credited as a composer of the song. Forfeiting both your credit and rights at first may not seem like a big deal, but can be a huge mistake down the road, especially if a song gains a lot of traction and blows up. Now, keep in mind, you could always negotiate this agreement to keep and maintain some publishing rights, even if it's a smaller amount. Or you can work in some type of recapture window that will allow you to secure some type of future revenue. I mean, look, this is all based on your specific circumstance, so we just encourage you to do what you feel is best for what you have going on. And that's it. We encourage you to always consult with an entertainment attorney to ensure you're getting the best possible deal. Sometimes trying to understand legal jargon can be an overwhelming task, and having an attorney in your corner can tremendously help you so that you don't find yourself committing to something you'll regret later. Now, keep in mind, there are other types of publishing deals out there that are unique to certain circumstances, but these are the most common to be aware of. We want you to be well informed when exploring publishing deals so that you make an educated decision that best fits your needs. Oh, and one more thing. Remember, just because a publisher offers you a big advance doesn't mean it's the right deal, because truth be told, that's not even your money and it still has to be paid back. Keep in mind that ownership is everything, so sometimes taking a smaller advance in exchange for more publishing is the way to go, because the more you own, the greater potential you have to make more money. If you haven't checked out our other publishing videos, I encourage you to do so to get a full perspective of what music publishing is, how it works, and why it's important to you as a creator. I hope this helps. Be sure to like and comment below and subscribe to our Airbit channel for more content. Also, don't forget to follow us on Discord so you can connect with our community and discuss all things music. You can find the link and others in the description. Until next time, stay creative. Peace.